Hello everybody, welcome to the Labyrinth of Limitations. This is another little labyrinth. It will also be without chord charts. I hope that's okay, but I'm going to share with you why that is and why I haven't been around that much lately. It's because I have a concert tomorrow that I wanted to share with you guys that I've been working on for a while with a wonderful group called Strinq Quartet. And it's a live stream happening tomorrow. It's free. It's at 5 p.m. Central Time. Texas time, and it's tomorrow, April 18th. And if you can't catch it, you can RSVP or go to the link, and you'll be able to see the rerun of it. But it'll be live streaming tomorrow. We'll be doing it as you watch it, and I'm also going to link to an app that I created that we used in the process of creating the music. This is a multimedia piece for electronics, string quartet. I play and I sing and stuff. This is kind of more my type of creative work that I do on my own that I don't really share on this channel much, because this channel's, to me, I like to keep it really specific about Barry Harris and all this wonderful stuff we get to talk about. So, so I'll link to all of that. And today, and I'll share with you the app too, and it's a free app, and you can play with it if you want to, and check it out. It's about music and memory, and it's kind of a wild little creative venture. So let's look at one of the songs. We have music that we're going to be doing tomorrow. There's some Debussy and Satie, Bill Evans' Blue and Green. That's why I did that episode, is because I was kind of looking at that tune a lot. And Moon River. And we're going to talk about Henry Mancini's Moon River. And we're going to talk about the tonic side of movement. What I mean by that is from the tonic to the subdominant, to the 2 or the 4 chord. And remember how I had the episode recently where we did moves like this? Sorry. So I went from, this is in G, so I'm in G, and I'm going through, and then I go. So what I did there was I went D minor 6, which is the 6 and the 5 for G. I went to the diminished in that scale. I moved the diminished down a half steps to G7 order. So I go, something like that. I could do also, I could do it from the tritones minor. So let's look at that type of movement, but moving instead of from the 6th chord substitutions on the dominant to the dominant chord substitutions, dominant 7th or dominant 7 flat 5. Let's do it going from the 1 chord, the tonic chord, like C major in this case. And then I'm going to go diminished. So this is C major 6. I did C major 6 root position, diminished. This is all drop 2. So this is C major 6. Then I'm going to go diminished. I'm going to move it down by half step. And then now I'm on the F major 6, which is D minor 7. So when going through, like, say, at 1, so you go, so I didn't do it, did I? So let me try it again. You see what I'm saying? That is, what I did there was I went, here is C major 6, just a little broken chord, diminished, and then like that. You do it in contrary motion, and then yeah, that's nice. So that's pretty. So what I did there was I have C major 6. I'm going to take my middle triad that I have here, A and C. I'm going to go contrary motion to a tritone, and that's diminished. This is sharp 5, and this is D. And then I'm going to go out by contrary motion by moving down a half step as if I were on an octatonic. Right? Like that, but isn't that kind of cool? You could probably do also. See, that's pretty. You could do it twice. So it's like an octatonic, but then you're resolving out of what's normally the off chord in the octatonic, which is fun. I just thought about that just now. But that's a fun idea too. So here's C major 6, and I'm going to go diminished, and I'm going to go diminished, and then like that to D minor 7, otherwise known as F major 6. Back to C, so that was going through a 5 chord. Let's do that with the octatonic-y kind of thing. Watch this. So that's pretty. So I go C major 6, diminished, diminished, and I'm going to continue. I'm going to go down a whole step in my bass because I'm doing that octatonic. And I'm going to go down a half step in my bass, and then maybe like that. I wanted my top voice to go down. Sounds nice. So whoops. So let's look at Moon River now. So Moon River is what we do, one of the things we do in this program. And so now this is related to the Bill Evans conversation that I was having with you guys, where we're doing 6 on the 5 a lot to get that Lydian sound. Well, Moon River similarly goes C major, and then that's just the 6th chord, so A minor 7. But now F major. Right, and sometimes I see this, but I like F major 6. Right, right. So I'm just kind of messing around, but that was the F. That's wider than a mile, right? So that is, Moon River, and then. Oh, sorry. Stuck. So that's pretty. So what that is, so what I'm doing, let me explain what I'm doing. I am on F, but just like in the Bill Evans in the blue and green, I'm thinking C major 6 diminished. C major 6 diminished. So I'm thinking, sorry, but with F as my frame of reference. So what I've been doing is exploring all the ways of forming an F chord, an F-y sound. So this is in the Bill Evans. So I go, just kind of, here is an F major 6, but I'm thinking of it as this is a diminished note in the key of C. So F major 6, this would just all be not diminished notes, but now D is a diminished note in the key of C, F is a diminished note in the key of C, C is not, A is not, so 2 diminished and 2 aren't. So, and then I can do this, I can resolve these borrowed notes to the proper diminished notes, and you could kind of do that, wider than a mile, like that, and it kind of sounds like you're going. So that's what's neat when you're doing the 4 chord, and you're thinking of the tonic key, so I'm thinking of C major and C major 6 diminished. What I have available is both the major 4 and the minor 4. See? Isn't that pretty? So, I think I saw Barry in a video do something like that. But it's a really pretty thing that's just there. So you could do, you could do fancy stuff, less fancy stuff. Here it is. So like, here's a little fancy what I did a second ago. So that is, what I did there was I did the chromatic scale. Remember Barry's chromatic scale, if you've seen that episode that I talked about that. I'm combining that. So I'm on a diminished note and diminished note. And I'm going to go down in that chromatic scale. Remember the chromatic scale, if I'm just on C major, just normal C major scale. I fill in the space in between every note, and then I jump up to the next scale degree when there is no half step in between to fill in. So I go, sorry. But when I do it in C major 6 diminished, it's like this. See, isn't that, it's weird because you have this, I've showed you guys that before, so sorry if I'm being redundant. Right? So I gotta go, so if I were to do it from here, yeah, that's how that works. So now what I did was in C major 6, see here, and my scale is, so that's C major 6 descending. And I'm going to go from this diminished note, fill in the space, jump down, fill, whoops, and then I stopped doing the chromatic. So I, at the end, so I go, right? And then what I can do, see what's neat is you can, because it's rhythmically consistent now, that chromatic scale makes it so that I'm on diminished note, not diminished note, the major 6. Diminished, major 6, and then I just do a little scale move. I don't do the chromatic there. So I can accompany it with appropriate bass motion. So watch this. Diminished, major 6, diminished, major 6, and then diminished, major 6, and I did the 4 from the 5-4-3-2, right? All of that stuff that Chris teaches over at Things I Learned from Barry Harris. Isn't that fun? So another one, like what about this one? So I'm going diminished to the chord, like that. So I'm going diminished, C major 6, diminished, C major 6, diminished, and then a little walk up, like that. So, and what are those? Those are, I did triads in parallel motion, jump down to a triad, because what I'm doing is, see, that's what I want to do. So I'm going triads in parallel motion, jump down to a triad, make some contrary motion by going from triad, the next floor in the elevator is the broken chord. So, and I'm going to go down in parallel motion with my broken chord. Now I'm going to go inward, so from outward to inward, from the broken chord to the diminished triad, and then I'm going to take this middle voice. Isn't that neat? So that's, and then, right, that was wrong. You know, all of that stuff is just, I'm just thinking C major the whole time on all that. That's just C major 6. And then finally it gets to, sorry, D minor 6, because it goes someday, and it goes to B half diminished 7th, which is D minor 6. And then I do something like the tritones minor or the octatonic scale, because it goes from B half diminished 7th to E7 to A minor, which is C major 6, right? So I go, goes in. Right. back to the beginning. And so on. And then sorry, what is that? And the tune ends. Maybe. So, you know, I thought I'd just share with you some of the thinking about this, and then I guess I'll finish it out. It goes, waiting around the bend, my huckleberry. We could do this thing, you know, we wanted to, and then. Something like that. Anyway, so I guess I talked about a bunch of stuff there. I really wanted to let you guys know about this show. I wanted to share with you just a little bit of how fun it is to look at moving from the 1 to the 2 chord by just taking your diminished for the 1 chord, moving it down by a half step. C major 6. I'll do a different one. Move that diminished down by a half step, and then go to your 2 chord. And then I wanted to look at Moon River a bit and just share with you, thinking very tonic-y. So I'm looking at the tonic side of things. We've looked so much at all the connections in the dominant side of things with the scale of scales. We'll continue to do that. But there's a lot to see in the tonic side, because today we didn't even talk about the 6 on the 5 for the tonic. So that would be G major 6 on top of C, which is a whole other thing. So this episode went a little longer than expected. I hope that you found this fun. I will go back to my normal protocol of having chord charts and PDFs with my next episode, which will be after this concert tomorrow. And I'll have a little bit more bandwidth. And I'll be doing updates to app stuff and some new developments in that way too. This project I've been working on a lot since December. So I'm excited to do it tomorrow, and I hope some of you join me. Thank you so much for following. Thanks for being part of this channel, and everybody who's kind of kept it going while I've been a little less present. And I'll be back to a normal schedule with this stuff again. And I hope you all have a great weekend, and talk to you soon. Keep practicing.